So in this video, I want to talk about some really useful upgrades to get on your first hard playthrough. This will be assuming no death and also just general min-maxing. So this will be from chapters 1 through 7. So I'm going to go over like the basic upgrades you should really be going for. In these early chapters, the game can be kind of rough because, especially if you haven't played it yet, like if this is your first playthrough, you're going to find like you'll probably be like putting things in bad positions, losing a few units, which like a game, which is fine, assuming you're not going for deathless, which I don't recommend doing on your first playthrough. But let's get into the upgrades you generally want to get. So let's start with Serenoa. So Serenoa, the first upgrade I would get on him on hard mode on a fresh save is health. The reason I don't go for damage is because healing and tanking is more important than dealing damage in the early game. You deal enough damage that generally like attacks will do 20, maybe 30% of an enemy's health bar, depending on if you get a back crit or a random crit or not. So I would say durability is usually the best thing to get. On Benedict, I would also get health on him. You might notice that Benedict is about as tanky as Serenoa in some cases. His stats are quite good for tanking, but he can essentially absorb a few hits. So like health on both of them is good. For Frederica, because she's a mage, what you want to do is keep her away from things. And I would actually either go for weapon damage up from Tome, which increases her like whacking with her book damage, but it also scales her fire damage. And then I would also get her clear skies fire damage up. Most maps have clear weather. There's a few that don't, but very like in most situations, like 90% of the time, the weather's clear. So I would get the book upgrade because it does scale your magic damage, and then I would get this. So these are her upgrades, and this is just so like you could get durability on her, but you're better off just keeping her safe and just having her hit things for hard damage. For Gila, you want to get this. You can get health on her, but if you position her well, she's durable enough to take a hit or two, and she shouldn't be near the front lines or near enemies generally anyways. But this increases her weapon damage, but the more important thing is it scales the amount of health she restores. So this is way better than getting health because she shouldn't be getting hit anyways, similar to Frederica, and you just heal for more. So that's really good to get on Gila. For Anna, you can just go for damage because she can take cover once she hits level 10, I believe. She can smack things, throw poison on things, and take cover. And for your first playthrough, damage is fine. You can put health on her if you want her to be a little bit tanky, but she's okay to just spec right into damage. And this was me like using her on a deathless, like no deaths playthrough, and so far no one has died up to and I'm on chapter 8, so it's good. She hits things for good damage. She basically just wants to get into position and just smack something in the back twice. For Huette, I would say go for damage first, and then you can go for accuracy. The reason why damage is better is early game, her accuracy is generally like 80 to 90%, which is good enough and consistent enough. And +1 accuracy isn't really going to do that much. So I would just go for damage first and then get accuracy. The reason I don't go for health on her is because she can blind things and grab high ground, which makes her very durable, hard to hit, and just, evasive via height. Most attacks can't hit very high up. So a lot of enemy mages, a lot of enemy archers will have a hard time hitting you when you're high up. So just putting damage on her is probably the best thing. And then, once you can unlock her great bow, you want to either get the blind duration or the immobilized duration increase. For Eridor, he doesn't need physical defense or damage really, because he has great physical defense. What he has poor of is magic defense. So he wants health and magic defense. So I would actually get him magic defense first because it's his critical weakness and he has horrible magic defense. And then I would get him health. He's generally tanky enough to take a few hits from physical and survive. So you don't really need to get physical defense right away. When you're this early on in the game and like resources are hard to come by, I would get magic defense and then I would get health on him. He needs these magic defense upgrades as fast as possible. For Corinton, I would just go for the damage. This scales his magical damage. For Hasabara, probably weapon damage up, scaling her healing so she can heal more. I don't use her, but that's what I would get on her. Maybe she's only level 5 right now, so her health is low, but maybe health then, like get this and then this. For Narv, You can't go wrong with weapon damage up. It causes his heal to heal for more. It increases the damage of all of his spells. And then afterwards, I would get this aura ability and probably put it on fire. And then if enemies were weak to ice, you can switch it. Once you unlock one, you unlock both. So I would go for that. He shouldn't be needing health because similar to the mages, he should be in the back line casting on enemy melee. They can't really hit him. That's generally how you should be using mages. For Azana, definitely weapon damage up to increase her base damage for spells, and then lightning damage up because her main upside is lightning, and she has a decent chance to immobilize with her lightning. So you create thunderstorm, get damage boost again, and just nuke stuff. That would be the best thing to get for her. For Lionel, let's see, probably this, to be honest, because early game his damage is actually quite good. Late game it falls off, but early game this would be really good to get. I would say this and health, and then maybe whip. Piccoletta, you can probably just do whatever. Like ball toss, I don't even recommend using it. You can, but all of these are just whatever. Like early game, I wouldn't even bother. Just spam decoys and throw stones. Like you can get her upgrades later. Like whacking things with the rocket doesn't really matter. You're better off spamming stones. And then Julio, this is huge. You will get a silver. You'll find one, I think in like chapter 5. You can unlock. You can see here I just have one upgrade on him. You unlock his rank 2, and then you get this. This early game makes it so that every turn for 1 TP, he can give another unit 1 TP and then 3 turns of strength and physical damage, magical attack and strength increase. Every turn he can do this. So he's a very strong unit. He is your first battery and he's free. You don't get Medina TP Physic until like almost near the end game. But early on, like if you can get this as early as I think like chapter 5 or 6. This is like the key thing. This allows your mages to not only deal more damage but to cast a spell every single turn without fail. He just alternates between Frederica and Corinton, or just Frederica and Azana, or Frederica and Narv, or Narv and Azana. Pick 2 mages. But he can consistently supply any mage with an extra TP so that every time it's that mage's turn it can cast again. And he also gives them damage buff. So hugely useful. And he also has KO TP +1. So if he last hits an enemy and he does deal decent damage, he gets 1 extra TP. And eventually once he gets higher level enough, he can give other units 2 TP at the cost of 3. Or he can give any unit like any amount of TP he has. So he can just give them, if he has 5 TP, he can give them 5 TP. So he is a very good unit. You want to run him for sure. It is critical that he is in your team composition. He enables every single unit to be more effective. He is one of the best characters in the game. And honestly, I think I should have put him in S tier instead of A in the 1 tier list. But I'll get into that in a separate video. But that's it for the early game. There might be some other characters, like you might have like Rudolph. But I just covered the ones I have in this playthrough. And the key thing is to upgrade Julio. It requires 1 silver. You get in like chapter 5 or 6 in an Explorer. It's in Wolfort town. So just make sure you get that. Upgrade this as soon as possible, and then get him Moment of Truth TP -1. It'll drastically make your game so much easier. But that's it for this quick guide. This is like chapters 1 through 7. I guess 1 through 8 because that's what I'm on right now for a fresh save. And this is also on Deathless. But in general, getting Julio and then getting the Moment of Truth for 1 TP is massive value and is going to enable your team to actually start making big plays early on. So definitely worth doing. Extremely good unit. He's tanky. He does good damage. Once he levels up high enough, he gets like 5% damage reduction from all sources per point of TP. And then he gets 5 TP, like other units, all mastery units. And he can have a 25% damage reduction with good defensive stats. So, and he can deal good damage. And he has an AoE. Like he has everything. You should invest in him. Honestly, for your first playthrough, Julio is like the takeaway from this video. Invest in him, run him, get this shit as soon as possible. Also keep in mind the way upgrades work is, all right, let's look at some of these upgrades. You see how it says fiber 1, timber 1? So if I buy, I'm going to get this. If I buy this, let's look at the cost of the other upgrades now. fiber 3, timber 3. And if I upgrade it again, it'll be like 6. If I upgrade it again, it'll be like, whatever. Actually, it might go to like 3 and then 5 and then 10 and then 20. So keep in mind your first upgrade is always the cheapest in terms of resources. So for your first new game hard mode playthrough, generally health is the best. And for specific characters like Julio, you want to get this as fast as humanly possible. So yeah, this is just such a good ability. This is the key takeaway from this. That and like health, damage, and you also have to think about what a unit's doing. What is Serenoa doing early on? He's tanking, so he wants more health. He's tanking and assisting with some damage. What is Benedict doing? He's tanking and he's adding utility. What is Frederica doing? She's nuking. Should she be getting hit? No. So just put damage on her. What is Gila doing? She's healing. Make her healing better. What is Anna doing? She's killing things. Make her damage better. What about Huette? Disabling and damaging. All right, make her damage better. What about Eridor? He's tanking. All right, give him more health, more magic defense. That's what the health is always good. The magic defense is his weakness. Corentin, damage dealer. Give him more damage. Hasabara, healer, and also support damage. Give her more damage and healing. Maybe give her more health. Narv, damage utility, some healing. But he's a damage utility, so he's damage. So just go for the damage. And then you can get the healing stuff later. But so like for Azana, I would get this and then the lightning so that she can create a rainstorm and then nuke with even more increased damage, or just get this and then like health and just skip the rainstorms and just nuke things for 60% paralyzed chance, which is really good. And then for Lionel, you could go for health, you could go for damage, you could go for the damage versus status ailments, it's fine. And then Piccoletta just wants to tank. She just wants to create decoys and spam items. Attacking with her racket isn't really good at all, almost ever. It's like really inaccurate. I don't know, like it's just terrible. But her item spam is really good. So yeah, that's it for this video. This is just a quick guide for chapters 1 through 7 for which upgrades to invest in for a general team comp. Depending on which morality or like which like convictions you have, you might get some characters sooner than others or later. But generally, you will get Julio pretty quick from just like picking certain options. And if you're just picking random options, you'll just randomly get him. Like, I don't know, like chapter 8, roughly speaking. Like chapter 6 to 8 is when I got him on 2 separate playthroughs where I was just picking random options. So yeah, that is it for this video. Definitely like the video and subscribe if you like this type of content. And drop a comment as to what upgrades you think are viable or really good for hard mode, new save, and why. Just to kind of get a discussion going, because this is like my opinion, obviously, but like Julio getting battery early, I would say is objectively one of the strongest moves you can make. And then getting health on your tanks and damage on your damage makes the most sense to me. And then getting more healing on your healers, that seems to make sense. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for checking this out, and I'll see you in the next video.